In sociology, we explore a wide array of topics, from the way authority influences minds to how women are represented in media. Yet the one reoccurring theme that we always fall back to is the concept of deviance. Deviance can mean many things, but in sociology, the term deviance is defined as a term used to describe actions or identities that can differ from what is considered a norm. These actions can either be positive or negative actions. There are many theories that are used to try and answer the question, what makes actions and some people deviant? This includes strain theory, anomie theory of deviance, differential association, social disorganization theory, control theory, and lastly, feminist theory. While all these theories are very important and help find different perspectives on deviance, the ones we will be discussing are labeling theory and conflict theory. We'll be researching and covering what these theories believe in and why these theories exist, and we will know all the vital details necessary to fully understand this theory. To begin with, we will first discuss the labeling theory. The labeling theory is a theory that the way people are labeled in society can affect their behavior and how they are viewed by the outside world. For example, if someone was labeled a criminal from childhood just because of their parents or surroundings, they may grow up to be a criminal because that is all they have heard themselves be called. Also, if someone is labeled as a criminal, people will always believe that that person is a criminal because they have a label that says so. This theory was based on another theory called symbolic interactionism. This labeling theory was created by Howard Becker in the 1960s. He was one of the most influential, and he made the most progress in developing this theory. While most theories focus on how it's the criminal's fault for committing crimes and violating social norms, this theory focuses on how society itself shapes the criminals into who they are and what they do. Edwin Lamert, another influential person for the development of this theory, argues that labeling theory eliminates legitimate opportunities for people. These labels make them viewed in negative ways, and it hurts them when they try to get a job. And it gives people the idea that they have a negative image or character. Not only can these labels be used by the everyday person, they are also used by judges, police officers, and psychiatrists. And this consists of them deeming people criminal, insane, or dangerous. After they arrest or incarcerate this person into a prison or an asylum, they are separated from norms and society. By doing this, they alter the way society sees them. But not only does it make society's viewpoint change, it also changes theirs. This makes them believe that there's actually something wrong with them and that they are not as good as everyone else. By them believing this, it can lead to them acting out to prove they are just as good, or they can fall into a life of crime to cope with how everyone treats them. There have been many experiments that have used the labeling theory and proved its significance. For example, one of those most well-known experiments using the labeling theory happened to third graders. The students had elected Martin Luther King Jr. their hero of the month. He was killed. Naturally, the teacher students asked her why their hero was murdered. So she ran an experiment to show them discrimination. So at the beginning of the week, she told her students that blue-eyed children were rambunctious and got bad grades, but brown-eyed students behaved and got good grades. Over the span of the week, the blue-eyed children had become rambunctious and started to have fights on the playground. Their grades started to go downhill, while the brown-eyed kids were well-behaved and continued to get good grades. After the week passed, the teacher told her students she made a mistake, and the brown-eyed students misbehaved and got bad grades, and the blue-eyed students were well-behaved and got good grades. Over the span of the next week, the brown-eyed kids got into fights and their grades plummeted, while the blue-eyed kids started to thrive again. After these 2 weeks, she told her students that they were all well-behaved and smart students. She continued to do this experiment in other classes and even got cameras to come and film one. As we can see, you can brainwash kids into believing anything. So, if we label them as criminals, they will grow up to believe that they are criminals, because that is all they know. In addition to that study, she also went to a prison and applied the same rules that she did for the first one, and the grown prisoners acted the exact same way. Another theory that used the labeling theory was the Jack-in-the-Box theory study. In this study, 7 pseudo-patients who were not mentally unwell got admitted into psychiatric hospitals after they faked auditory hallucinations. Once they were admitted, they behaved like they normally do, and they were treated as though they were mentally unwell. This experiment proved that you can be perfectly fine, but once you get the label you are not, you cannot shake the label even if you do act normally. An example of labeling theory in society is the stigma around African Americans. According to ThoughtCo.com, research shows that schools discipline black children more frequently and harshly than white children, despite a lack of evidence suggesting that the former misbehave more than the latter. As stated, African Americans face more obstacles than other people simply for the stigma around their race. This can lead to them to make bad decisions that builds the stigma up more around their race. In the document, Using Evidence to Inform Critical Clinical Practice, the author states, between these 2 examples, the time frame ranged from 18 months to 5 years. This passage ran an experiment to see how quickly inmates went back to jail after they went to a drug rehabilitation clinic. The time frame is the one stated above. Using the labeling theory, it makes criminals believe that they are criminal, so they continue to commit crimes because that's all they are known and that's all they think they are good for. In addition to the labeling theory is the conflict theory. The conflict theory is another very important theory in the sociological world. The conflict theory is the idea that social order is based on coercion and exploitation. The conflict theory believes that people in society put other people down to make profit or to better themselves. The conflict view looks at deviance in a way that people in power bend rules to fit their rules of deviance. This is the reason for gambling, marijuana, prostitution, and other crimes that are easily broken or considered crimes. In this system, African Americans and Latinos are treated in the most unfair ways. They receive longer sentences and higher or no bonds, even if their background is clear or they have very minor crimes, while white people can get away with it even if they do not have a clean background. There have been many experiments using the conflict theory, and one of the most well-known and controversial experiments ever was on the conflict theory. The Stanford prison experiment was an experiment conducted by Philip Zimbardo. In this experiment, Philip Zimbardo put an ad for volunteers to join his experiment. He picked guys that were basically the same person. He gave one half prisoner clothes and the other half guard clothes, and he picked those people at random. Over the span of the experiment, the guards turned mean and would treat the prisoners harshly. The prisoners would beg the guards to leave them alone, and they would continue to cry themselves to sleep. This experiment proved that no matter the type person, power changes you. Power makes people treat others that are considered below them in awful and unfair ways. That experiment lasted 6 days when it was supposed to last weeks. After the experiment, Zimbardo said, the experiment showed, in Zimbardo's words, how ordinary college students could do terrible things. Class conflict is another key idea in this theory. Class conflict is where society is separated into different classes, and the different classes clash, and they are turned against each other. The higher classes exploit the lower classes to make themselves look better or to receive more money. Some examples of this in real life are when anyone goes to jail and they are in a lower class or they are in a minority. They are treated worse and they do not get to just walk free. While people in upper classes may get to either pay a little bit as a bribe to get their way out, or they are just so well known that the cops let them go. While people in lower classes either have to do more time or they have to pay a hefty bond that is not feasible for them. Conflict theory views society as people using other people to grow and thrive in power. It is the view that as long as poor people stay poor, the people in power will always stay in power. Since people in higher up positions do this and treat people this way, it tends to lead people to riot or to act up. When someone makes a ruling or convicts them of a crime, they want to show them that they are not beneath them. And it causes people to act out. Many times, this just further ignites the stigma around lower classes or minorities. This theory is proved on a daily basis in our society. Our society is filled with people that want to excel in life, but they do not want to do the work, so they tear other people down to climb the class ladder. An example of this in real life is an owner or coach of a sports team not letting players rest or not providing them with the resources to better themselves. This is coaches wanting money but not putting in the money to help their players succeed or maintain their health. Another example is like in the song 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton. In this song, Dolly Parton sings, "Want to move ahead, but the boss won't seem to let me. I swear sometimes that man is out to get me." She talks about her dreams are crushed just to make him look better. She talks about how he uses her ideas to make himself look better and leaves her out of the credit. She talks about how he gets everything she wants and all of her dreams are just crushed. As we can see, the conflict theory is proved every day to make people look better. And it will continue to get proved no matter how hard we work for equality or how many times inequality leads to people acting out and causing deviance. In conclusion, there are many theories on deviance in society, but the ones analyzed in this presentation is the labeling theory and the conflict theory. These are two theories are very similar, and they both have to do with other people treating another person unfairly just to make themselves appear better. The labeling theory is where society gives you a label and you cannot escape it, so you have to become the label. And the conflict theory is where bosses in society or other people that may be in higher up classes push you down just to make themselves higher in society and to give themselves more power. While doing this, they push people to commit crimes and contribute to deviance in our society. If there is ever a situation where someone is not letting you get your way, or they do not let you get your opinion out, or they do not give you the credit for your own opinion, and they crush your dreams, do not create more deviance, because this will make you look bad and create more stigma around you, your class, your race, and it'll make you labeled as a bad person, and this label will stick with you when you try to go either for another job, or it'll label you as a bad person or someone who's not easy to work with to all your coworkers and to other people.